The kitchen light was still on when I walked out the back door for the last time. She was laughing on the phone, barefoot, twirling a wine glass by the stem. She didn't hear the screen door creak. She didn't turn when I stood there watching her silhouette from the yard, half hidden in the fog of the evening's sprinkler mist. I didn't say goodbye. I just stood long enough to memorize how completely gone I already was to her. That was 19 days ago. Now I sit here, somewhere 2 states away, watching a bug drown in my coffee. I don't swat it. I just watch. It flails and finally sinks. The irony makes me smile in a way I hate. She's been calling my brother, my boss, even my childhood neighbor who still posts on Facebook like it's 2011. I know because I left the right doors open just enough. The breadcrumbs were intentional, but sparse. Just enough to remind her I existed. Just enough to make her doubt. And she is doubting. She doesn't know what I saw. She doesn't know what I heard. She doesn't know I read the deleted messages, or that I stood behind her one night at 2:14 a.m. when she thought I was asleep. She doesn't know I saw the smile she gave her phone, the kind I hadn't earned in 3 years. But I do. And now? Now, I'm nothing but the echo in her mind every time the house creaks. She thought I was weak. She said it with her eyes long before she said it out loud. She thought I wouldn't leave. That men like me hang around forever, clutching scraps of affection and pretending they're full meals. But I didn't explode. I didn't confront. I evaporated. And the silence I left behind is louder than any scream I could have thrown. She's unraveling now. I've seen the missed calls. The public "have you seen him?" posts framed like concern but soaked in guilt. My friends say she's worried sick. My cousin said she cried when she called him last night. Good. She should cry. Because the worst part isn't that I left. It's that I didn't tell her why. Yet. I didn't leave because I wanted to hurt her. That's the part one thinks she'll never understand. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't some grand punishment. It was survival. When you sit across from someone every night for years, and they look through you like you're a reflection on a bus window, eventually you stop wondering what you did wrong and start wondering how much of you is even left. I left because I couldn't stand the way I had started to shrink inside my own body. I left because I realized I was tiptoeing in my own home. Because I'd become background noise to the woman I once memorized like scripture. But I didn't just walk away and disappear into the woods like some folklore ghost. I made sure she'd feel it. I canceled the utilities, one by one, under my name. The internet was first. She panicked and reset the router 4 times that day. The water, the next. I heard from a mutual friend. She asked the neighbors to use their shower. A few days later, the mortgage company called her. I had removed my name from the joint account. Left just enough for her to get by a week or 2. No more, no less. Calculated kindness. She's unraveling, that much I know. Not because I'm watching her, I'm not that petty. But people talk. And I left just enough cracks in the wall for her screams to echo through. Apparently she's gone through my closet 6 times. Notice the shirt's missing. The leather journal I always kept under the bed is gone too. That's what really got her, I heard. The journal. Because in the end, I think she always knew I was watching. Recording things in that quiet little notebook like some docile observer of my own collapse. The guy she was seeing, let's call him Grant, because it fits. He texted her again. One of my old co-workers told me he overheard her crying in the Walgreens parking lot. Grant wasn't interested in being her plan A. He liked being the side story. He didn't want the full picture, just the edited highlights. Now that I'm gone, she's reaching out to him like he's a life raft, and he's already halfway off the ship. And now, she's starting to realize the thing she traded wasn't broken. It was tired. It was starving. And it's gone now. That's the part that's hard to describe. How satisfying it is to become missing. Not dead. Not erased. Just missing. Unreachable. Mysterious. Powerful in the silence. And no matter how many messages she sends, no matter how many times she circles the same block hoping I might walk out of a coffee shop or hardware store, she won't find me. Because I'm not hiding. I'm done being found. I always thought the loudest moments in life came with screaming. With doors slammed, dishes shattered, tires screeching down suburban streets. But now I know the truth. The loudest moments are silent. Like the morning she found the mailbox key gone, the drawers half empty, the fridge holding nothing but mustard and almond milk. I didn't need to leave a note. The empty space said everything I never could. And maybe that's what haunts her now, the absence of an explanation. Because people like Marlena need narratives. They need someone to blame. And I gave her neither. Just empty rooms and questions she has to ask herself in the mirror. According to my brother, she filed a missing person report 2 days after I vanished. Said I left for work and never came home. Bold lie. I hadn't worked in weeks. She didn't know that because she stopped asking. She stopped noticing. I'd been laid off. Budget cuts. I told her once, quietly, over dinner, somewhere between her second glass of wine and her fourth scroll through Instagram. She nodded, said something like, "We'll be okay." But I think she meant she'd be okay. And maybe that's when it all started for real. When I realized I could disappear and she wouldn't even flinch, until it inconvenienced her life. The officer who called my brother asked if I had any enemies. My brother laughed and said, "Just his wife's reflection." I don't know whether to be proud or ashamed of that. I'm not trying to destroy her. I'm not some shadow lurking around corners, waiting to pounce with receipts and screenshots. I don't want revenge. I want her to sit in it. In the space where I used to be. In the quiet where I used to listen. In the absence of my apology for things I never did wrong. And by the sound of it, she's drowning in it faster than I expected. I heard she tore apart the attic 2 nights ago, looking for a spare phone. Screamed at the neighbor for not noticing anything. She's starting to crack around the edges. Not because I left, but because I left calmly. That's the part that's breaking her. She was prepared for a fight, a breakdown, a begging voicemail at 2 a.m., but I gave her none of that. I gave her the echo of her own actions. And now, she's spiraling. She's posting old photos of us with captions like, "Life's short. Tell people you love them." The comments are full of sympathy, but no one knows what she did. No one sees the rot behind the porcelain smile. And the best part? I still have the journal. The real one. The one she never found. And in it is everything. Every quote. Every time she came home with excuses that didn't line up. Every night she stared at her phone instead of me. Every time she made me feel like an obligation instead of a person. I wrote it all. Not because I wanted to publish it or weaponize it, but because I needed to remind myself that I wasn't crazy. That I didn't imagine the slow erasure of myself. I don't know what she'll do next, but I know one thing for certain. She's finally listening, and I haven't said a single word. They always say people don't notice the value of silence until it stretches too long. But what no one tells you is that silence can twist. It can grow teeth. It can wrap around someone's mind like ivy and pull until there's no air left. That's what's happening to her now. I can feel it. I don't need cameras or spies or fake profiles to know. I know Marlena too well. I know the rhythm of her unraveling. And it's not just guilt anymore. It's obsession. She's been visiting places I used to go. My brother texted me last night. "You're not gonna believe this. She showed up at Joe's garage." That was my favorite hideout spot. The kind of rundown place with bad coffee and old arcade machines that barely worked. I spent a lot of nights there when I didn't want to go home, but had nowhere else to be. According to Joe, she just stood there for 20 minutes, not even ordering anything. Just looking around like she expected to hear my laugh or find my name carved into the wood of the bar. But I never carved anything. That's the thing. I left no fingerprints. I existed like vapor in the spaces she ignored, and now she's trying to track footsteps that were never really there. She even called my mom. They've hated each other for years. Marlena used to say my mom was manipulative, controlling, passive-aggressive, all the things Marlena actually was. But now she's on the phone, crying, telling my mom she's terrified something happened. I bet that was hard for her, swallowing her pride like that. But it wasn't for answers. It was for performance. Marlena's always been better at optics than truth. And now, she's building a narrative where she's the heartbroken wife, and I'm the unstable man who abandoned her without reason. She's not trying to find me because she loves me. She's trying to rewrite the story before the silence tells the truth. She posted on Reddit. Yes, Reddit. A throwaway account. I know it was her. She used phrases only she uses, like soul-deep connection and gut-feeling energy. She wrote this flowery post about how her husband left unexpectedly, how he was struggling emotionally and needed space. She painted herself as the concerned partner, asking for advice from strangers. But what caught me wasn't what she said, it was what she didn't. There was no mention of the man I saw her with. No mention of the nights she stayed late at work. No mention of how many times she forgot our anniversary, or the time she came home drunk with someone else's cologne on her shirt and told me I was being insecure. She's cleaning her side of the story, sanitizing the narrative, pretending my disappearance was random, spontaneous. like I cracked under the pressure of a normal marriage. But I didn't disappear out of nowhere. I didn't snap. I planned. Slowly. Quietly. With every fake smile she gave me, I folded another piece of myself into the suitcase. I tested routes. I tracked my digital footprints and cleared them one by one. And when I finally walked out that back door, I wasn't running away. I was walking home. Now she's the one spiraling. Not because she misses me. Not because she wants to fix anything. But because she doesn't know what version of me the world will believe. And that terrifies her. Because when someone disappears in silence, you can't argue with them. You can't manipulate them into apologizing. You can't control the narrative. You can only sit in the wreckage they left behind and wait for the mirror to turn on you. There was one thing I never expected, that she'd start digging through my past like a detective desperate for clues. She always said she hated drama, but now she's the architect of her own chaos, piecing together every scrap of who I was before I became the ghost in her life. A week ago, I found out she rented a car and drove to my old college town, the same one where I buried my dreams and swallowed my pride. She didn't tell anyone. She didn't announce it on social media. She just showed up, walked into the campus library, and asked about me. The librarian said I hadn't been there in years, that I'd withdrawn quietly. That was the first time I realized she wasn't just chasing me. She was chasing who I used to be, hoping to catch a glimpse of the man she lost, or maybe never really knew. But what struck me even more was the package she sent my brother. It was wrapped in brown paper, tied with twine, the kind of thing from an old movie. Inside was a stack of old photos, letters, even some drawings from when we first met. The letter she enclosed wasn't addressed to me, but to whoever finds this. It was a confession wrapped in vague accusations. I was blind, she wrote. I couldn't see what was right in front of me until it was too late. The irony stung. The woman who said she never made mistakes was now begging a stranger for understanding. And yet, no direct attempt to contact me. No message to the number I once carried in my wallet. It's like she's playing a game where she controls the narrative but refuses to play the obvious move. Reach out. I heard from a friend, she said. He left me to figure this out on my own. But if that's true, why did she secretly follow my brother to a bar last weekend? Why did she call my old friends asking for details about my habits? It's not about closure. It's about control. Control, the very thing she lost when I stopped showing up. I'm not sure she realizes how deep this obsession has become. She stopped answering her phone when I call the burner I left active. She's deleting messages faster than they arrive. She's trying to erase every trace of me, but all she's really doing is proving how badly she needs me to still be a part of her story. And that's the cruelest paradox. She says I was the problem, but now she can't function without the idea of me. Last night, I sat alone in this cheap motel room, staring at the ceiling fan's slow rotation, thinking about the last time I touched her hand. It wasn't a grand romantic moment, just a brief brush while we cooked dinner. Her eyes didn't meet mine. They were somewhere far away, maybe on someone else's face. That moment encapsulated everything I lost. The warmth, the connection, the simple truth of being seen. And now, I'm just a ghost she's afraid to confront. A silence too loud to bear. A wound with no bandage. But here's the kicker. I'm not sorry. Not anymore. Because sometimes, disappearing is the only way to remember who you really are. I never imagined the silence would turn into a weapon against me. For weeks, I thought vanishing meant reclaiming peace. A chance to breathe without the suffocating weight of a marriage unraveling beneath my feet. But instead, it became a battlefield. One I couldn't see, couldn't touch, but felt in every heartbeat and sleepless night. Because while I was gone, she was building a narrative that painted me as the villain, the runaway, the one who gave up without warning. Friends, family, strangers online, they all swallowed it. No one questioned the story of the man who disappeared, leaving his wife confused and broken. What they didn't know, what she refused to show, was the slow poison that had been killing us long before I walked away. The quiet betrayals, the half-truths, the growing distance no amount of apologies could mend. And she knew it. Deep down, Marlena knew I was retreating, crumbling under a weight she refused to share. But instead of asking for help, she hid behind a mask, telling the world I abandoned her, when really, I was dying inside the walls we built together. Last weekend changed everything. I got a message from my brother. You should see this. Marlena showed up at your old place. Not the house, The one you stayed at before we met. The cabin near the lake. I didn't answer for hours, staring out at nothing in particular. The cabin was where I escaped when I felt like I was drowning. It was my last refuge, my sanctuary. And now? She was there, poking around, tearing through the memories I'd tried to bury. That night, I couldn't sleep. I imagined her stepping into the creaking floorboards, breathing in the stale air, touching the faded photographs taped to the wall. I imagined her whispering my name like a prayer, like a curse. And then I realized, she wasn't searching for me. She was searching for an apology she never got, for a truth she refused to face. Because the hardest part about disappearing isn't leaving someone behind. It's the echo of all the things left unsaid. I'm still haunted by the last conversation we had before I vanished. She asked if I loved her. My answer was weak, caught between truth and exhaustion. I told her I did. But I didn't tell her I loved the idea of us more than the reality. That I loved the memory of who we were when we first met, before silence settled in like a shadow no light could chase away. She never asked what was wrong after that. Maybe she already knew. Maybe she didn't want to know. Now, in this endless quiet, I'm forced to confront the parts of myself I buried, my anger, my pain, my regrets. And while she's out there, spinning stories, trying to stitch together a life without me, I'm realizing something brutal. Sometimes the person who disappears is the one who's been lost all along. There's a strange kind of clarity that comes with being invisible to someone who once held your entire world. When you stop existing in their daily reality, suddenly every memory, every shared laugh, every touch feels like a ghost, something intangible, a shadow that refuses to let go. That's where I am now, lost between what was and what will never be. But here's the thing no one warns you about. Disappearing doesn't free you from pain. It just relocates it. It hides it behind new walls, new places, new faces you never meant to meet. Last week, Marlena finally reached out. Not to me, to a mutual friend. I wasn't surprised when she asked, "Do you know where he is? Is he okay?" That friend called me immediately afterward. I could hear the desperation behind the polite tone. She was scared of losing the story she'd spent months rewriting, scared of the truth that might come with finding me. I told my friend to keep her distance. For now, silence is the only control I have left. But even as I hold on to that silence, there's something deeper gnawing at me. Guilt. Not the guilt of leaving her, but the guilt of what I left behind. The house with cracked windows, the unfinished repairs, the photos of us that no longer seem to fit together. The life we built with invisible cracks no one wanted to admit. She's tearing through those remnants like a woman possessed, hunting for answers, for blame, for closure. And somewhere in all that chaos, I'm beginning to wonder if I was the only one truly lost, or if we both sank in different ways. Yesterday, I found a letter tucked inside an old book at the cabin. It wasn't mine. It was hers. The handwriting shaky but familiar, words I never expected to see. I was wrong to think silence would heal anything. It just buried us deeper. Reading it felt like watching a flame flicker in a dark room. Fragile, desperate, yet still burning. I folded the letter and put it back, knowing it wasn't my time to answer yet. Not until I figure out if I'm running towards something or away from everything. Sometimes I wonder if she still remembers the little things. The way I used to hum softly while fixing the sink. The awkward dance we did in the kitchen when the radio played a song we both hated. The mornings filled with bad coffee and better intentions. I wonder if she sees those moments now, or if they're just shadows beneath her guilt and anger. Because the truth is, none of us are perfect. We made mistakes. Hers were loud and visible, mine quiet and invisible. And in the end, both kinds of pain leave scars. I don't know what the next step is. Whether I'll ever walk back through that door, or if this silence is my forever. But I do know one thing. Disappearing was never about running away from her. It was running toward the chance to find myself again in a world that forgot I existed. The strange thing about silence is that it doesn't last forever. Eventually, it breaks. Sometimes in a whisper, sometimes in a storm, and sometimes, in the quiet moments between the noise, it gives you a chance to breathe again, to heal, to rebuild, to find something you thought was lost. After all the distance, all the nights filled with doubt and loneliness, something inside me shifted. Not because I suddenly missed the life I left behind. No, I missed me. The part of me that still believed in connection, in forgiveness, in second chances. So I started writing again. Not letters to her, not explanations to anyone else, but pages for myself. Words to remind me that I was more than a shadow in someone else's story. And then, unexpectedly, the phone rang. It was Marlena. Her voice was soft, hesitant, but real. She said she wasn't ready to erase what happened, but maybe, just maybe, we could start small. A coffee, a conversation. No promises, no expectations, just two people trying to find their way back from the silence. I said yes, because sometimes disappearing isn't the end. It's the beginning of something new, something honest. We're not fixed, not yet, but for the first time in a long time, there's a flicker of light where there was only darkness. A fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, the pieces we thought were lost can be put back together, differently, better, and with more understanding. So here I am, still writing my story, but now with a chapter about healing, about finding strength in vulnerability, about choosing to return, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. And if you're reading this, stuck in your own silence, wondering if anyone will ever find you, know this: you don't have to be lost forever. Sometimes, all it takes is a single step forward into the light.